All right. Eh, Sorry, I got to do this. I forgot last week. Sorry, Katie. I didn't have a recording from last week, which is unfortunate because it was actually really, really good. But I'm a dumbass. What can I say? Anyway, anybody else have a good lesson today? Or any day in the last few days? Don't want everybody chime in at once. Okay,
I
cool.
I did. I have to comment on this because I had probably the best lesson I've had in years. I had women today. I teach in an adaptive program up at Camelback in the Poconos. And a 32-year-old woman who had fallen out of a dorm window on the fifth floor when she was in college. She'd been a competitive swimmer, and she went on to become a Paralympian swimmer and has two Paralympic gold medals in swimming. And decided yesterday to take her first ski lesson ever. Oh, by the way, she's also become a doctor. So she's kind of an overachiever, but phenomenal woman. Yesterday was her first lesson ever, first time on skis ever. And I had the pleasure of having her this afternoon. And we got to basic parallel turns in 2 days. So just a phenomenal human being and a real inspiration. I thoroughly enjoyed every minute with her today.
Oh, she wasn't paralyzed. She was in
She had a fractured L2 vertebra and pretty much destroyed her left ankle, which made right turns very difficult today. But we
so
overcame
she
it.
has she has pins like holding her ankle.
I have no idea what they
Yeah.
had to do to reconstruct it. I didn't get into that level of
Yeah.
detail with her, but she did have trouble getting a boot on. But
Mm.
the people yesterday who worked with her managed to do that. So she basically has taught herself to walk again and
Wow.
and swim competitively. So quite an
Fantastic.
inspiration. I
Yeah,
was
really. It's awesome.
very thrilled to have the pleasure to work with her.
Good. Good. So all I did today was a boring bumps clinic, and which was fine. It was for a clinic for our fellow instructors. And then this afternoon, I just kind of helped out with the L2 pod and just did some MA. But we had another instructor that came in today, and she said there was a woman that came in, and she was like 68 years old with terminal cancer, with a very, very short time to live. And one of her last dying wishes was to learn to ski today.
Wow.
And I mean, this woman came in literally sobbing because it was such an emotional day for her, because she was like, this woman, she just, every time that she had a little piece of success, that she would celebrate it so much that it was just kind of life changing for her. And she goes, not only, and I go, hey, you just went out and you changed somebody's life. And she goes, I didn't just change somebody's life. She just completely changed mine today. And just that idea of, God, I'm almost tearing up now just talking about, but how, you can go out and make such an impact in somebody's life and then have them like cheer themselves on in that way. It was really cool. Really cool. And it really puts into perspective, kind of sometimes what we do. Yeah, I mean, I went out and did a boring old bump clinic. This woman just changed somebody's life at the same time, had such an emotional impact on herself. So I thought I'd share that a little bit. I thought that was really cool today too. So, and Paul, nicely done. Thank you for sharing with that too. All right. Anybody else want to share real quickly? I mean, that's kind of hard one to kind of follow, but I think it might be time for us to go ahead and start talking about skiing. And anybody get a chance to watch the videos today? No?
Yeah.
Yes?
Mhm.
Oh, hey, Alex.
Hey,
So let's watch Richie Berger real quick, because obviously he is like the gold standard in a lot of ways. Sorry, Jonathan, but Richie is really, really good. This is what I will say about Jonathan Blue skiing. He is technically just uber accurate, just ridiculously accurate. Even when he was like doing like easier or less easy or easier stuff like the wedge turns and the wedge Christies, he's just uber accurate. And Ben Potts was, I think, was a really, really good skier too. I think the real difference between the two is, you know, Jonathan Blue can do white pass turns and Ben Potts could not, but it didn't matter because they were both really, really technically good skiers. And when they went into like medium radius carve turns, it was like impressive to watch them like do that task. So anyway, here's Richie. I got this on loop. Yep. And we got to turn that off. Shut up. So the good thing about these turns is he's got like a mixture of not only like fall line bumps, but he also has kind of like that sing-songy, more of a that are performancey, but at least they're look like they're a little bit more achievable. These don't, but some of the others do. That looks like actually a fall line turns, but what do you guys notice?
His skis mainly stay in contact with the snow.
Yeah, that might be in what? The new common threads? Yeah.
Not the whole time, but most of the time.
Well, it's not like a center line task, right? So generally that applies to just the center line task. But if you go to the IDP, ski stay on the snow as much as possible. And fore aft movements are, you know, you're massaging the ski as much as you possibly can, knowing full well that it's some of the times that you're going to have more forward pressure and more backward pressure, which is in the IDP.
So I also noticed the blending of skills that he utilizes in the ski. It's not just a flat skiddy ski. He's also utilizing the edge at the finish to give him a grip and a contact in the snow to move himself into his next turn.
Mm-hmm.
And he's utilizing that as a performance move.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That's kind of like that sing-songy piece, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, his fore aft is perfect. He's in balance 100% of the time.
Yeah, but even when he's doing, he's kind of changing his performance a little bit when he starts doing these like fall line, zipper line bumps.
Yes.
He's using a blocking pole plant to not over rotate to stabilize himself. Which leads me to that idea of in the common threads where the upper body stability promotes lower body mobility.
Hmm.
He skis in and out of counter.
And his center of mass is always over his base of support, so provides him the stability and the balance that he needs to go from one turn to the other, even in very rugged conditions.
Yeah. Anybody else got any comments?
His hands, like as you mentioned, the blocking pole plants, they really do stay out in front of him the whole time. And his pole is out of the snow by the time his skis go past it. So it's not dragging him back.
No, he's not allowing the pole to drag himself sideways, right? Or allowing that twist to happen, right? He's getting out and he's doing this. He's kind of driving his hand forward in order to keep that hand from being drugged backwards. He's only using that enough to stop this rotation, so he doesn't over rotate. Good cue.
I don't see a lot of up and down either on the upper body.
Yeah,
It's really good.
that was kind of one of the things we talked about today in this clinic that I taught, which was how the head kind of moves on a line down the hill. Maybe not here, but there's not a lot of up and down with his head.
And that could be because he has such great extension of 2 feet
yeah.
as he steers his leg through each turn and then sort of retracts or absorbs.
He gets to this
In the
spot right
transition.
here. This was like the last little piece I did. So today's clinic was about like how to teach like more performance blue black bumps. And the last thing I talked about today was how many know what a slow dog noodle is? So slow dog noodle is getting down in kind of a crouched position. Let me see if I can find a video for slow dog noodle. Slow dog noodle. And it's slow dog noodle was kind of invented by Wayne Wong. And Wayne did this thing where he kind of allowed the skis to kind of come up in front of him, but he crouched really, really low when he did it. And it allowed him, and he would slow it way, way down. Oh yeah, here we go. So he would slow it way down and he would add a twist later, okay? And what it would happen is that the point of the drill is to absorb at the initiation, then slowly twist in and then extend into the turn. And then when the bump came back at you, to absorb and then do it. And that's the opposite pattern that most people do, which is they tend to extend at the top of the turn and then they fall and then they have to do a big break in order to slow down. And when we're working with our clients, this is fairly common. I mean, I think all of us have seen that kind of movement pattern before, where they end up standing at the top. Here's a slow dog noodle. All right. That's a slow dog noodle. Boop. And literally what he's doing is he's just allowing his knees to come up in front of him. He's got a more erect spine. And you got all these people here. Here we go. Slow dog. That's a slow dog noodle. Yeah, let's see if we can find a better view of it. Come on. Come on, Glenn. Show us what a slow dog noodle is.
Are you referring to when you slowly pivot on top and then you extend your legs down the, probably, scraping the spine?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking, where you pivot at top and you extend your legs down?
100%. Here's Wayne. This is Wayne's Wong, right? And this is the famous picture that he had, which is that slow dog noodle where he would slow down and he would sit back and allow the tips to go up, and then he would slowly rotate down into the next bump, and he would kind of extend down and then repeat. And that was a slow dog noodle. And of course, I need video. Come on, give me a video. Skiing video. Come on, give me a good one. Anyway, that was maybe I can't find one. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll move on. But this idea is when we go back and we look at Richie, he's kind of doing that same pattern and a lot faster. He's not slowing it way down, but when he gets to there's the extension, and then here's a part where he absorbs, and then he extends into the next turn. And that's the whole point of the slow dog noodle. Here's the extension as he extends into the turn, and then he gets to this position back here where he absorbs, and notice that his rear end is back, and he's allowed the tips to kind of come up, But what he's doing is he's using that absorption feature to help him rebalance. He's using the pole plant, the blocking pole plant to help him do that. And then when he gets into the new bump, he slowly extends. The same way on this side. There's the slow dog noodle, right? Looks just like Wayne Wong's. Right? He's just not doing it slowly. But it's a really, really good drill for breaking that movement pattern of extending at the top of the bump and then landing down below. Instead, you're absorbing and then slowly moving into the bump. And everybody loved that. They loved that. It was like the coolest thing to do. And I had one girl who's going for her teach here in a couple weeks. I was like, hey, do the slow dog noodle in your teach. your examiners will love you for it because it's a really cool, fun thing to do. And she, everybody else was a lot older. She's like in her 20s and could actually like bend her knees that far. Not all of us could do that. I mean, I could get down pretty close, but not like Wayne Wong style, right? And she could like literally sit on the back of her skis and then slowly pivot down into the bumps. And she goes, that was fun. I go, yeah, it's a fun drill to do. So anyway, so let's look at anybody got any other things they want to talk about here? And Tom Gelly talks about how the absorption is actually 50% of your speed control. Getting the tips down and absorbing is 50% of your speed control in these kind of turns. Especially these fall line, zipper line bumps like he's doing. And being smeary. So let's look at our video victim. I think this is, no, that's not it. Yeah, here we go. All right. Oh, we don't need a commentary. So how is this different?
Is your video in slow motion? Is that what you're showing?
No, it's not in slow motion.
I feel because I could do a markup. I think my screen sharing with yours. I don't know. I logged out and logged back in. That's so weird.
Is it slow?
Okay, but I'm not.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
it's
it's chopped.
coming across slow to me
earlier.
too.
I should have done this earlier. Let me put it in the chat. All right. Come on, chat. Where you at? Chat. There you go. Everyone, here is the link. Obviously, the link was in the link was also in the email. And yes, this person is going considerably slower. I think Olivia was on. I talked to Olivia later today. She goes, yeah, I saw your videos, and her kids were looking at those same videos. And they're like, he's going so much slower. Whoever this is going so much slower. Yeah, that's a good observation. And by the way, this is Outhouse.
Oh, no wonder.
Yeah. That had to have been gay.
Yeah.
But how has the movement changed? Somebody talk me through it.
I'm Gareth Williams, and just joined a little few minutes ago.
Cool.
I guess the biggest thing that I see that is different here is that they're tall at the top of the bump. They're tall and then they're kind of flexing down through the trough. So, and it's opposite from the slow dog noodle to the extent that they're tall at the top of the bump and then absorbing as they come down through the trough.
So right about here.
Yep, that's where they're making an up move.
Yeah.
A little bit of a stem there, and they're just not getting the speed control out of that, pressure management that the other skiers, that Richie Berger and the other skiers were getting.
Yeah, so they're hoping to land.
Mm-hmm.
They put their skis on edge to help them with the speed control instead of absorption. Somebody giggled.
That was me.
Why, does this remind you of yourself, Katie?
No, it was the when he did the Yahoo, like the
Yeah, Yahoo. Well, I took a kid down outhouse on Saturday, and he looked back up, and you know what he did? He had his arms like as high in the air as he could go. He was like, yes.
Yes.
Because when you look at outhouse from the bottom, it's just like, you're not here, you're like, it is the steepest, gnarliest run, I believe, at Winter Park. And every one of those bumps is like 4 feet down, right? And they're doing a pretty good job of being smooth, right? But there is not an absorption piece in their turns.
I think the flexion and extension is missing or less predominant in this skier. As well as the skiers is not necessarily giving into the gravity line that we would see Richie Berger do. He embraces the gravity, he embraces the force that the snow interaction is providing to him. And this skier is defensive, and obviously so when you describe the run.
Yeah, but I don't think it's any worse than what Richie was doing, right? Because Richie's doing that looks steep, right?
So
I would say this looks almost as steep as any of the outhouse, as any part of the outhouse. Outhouse is pretty steep, but I mean,
I would say Richie is regulating the magnitude of pressure throughout from turn to turn.
there we go. Yeah.
With this skier, the pressure is very light at the top of the turn and then comes down very hard at the end.
Yeah.
They are not consistently regulating the magnitude of pressure throughout the turn from turn to turn.
Cool. And that's kind of like building on what Gareth said, probably in a little bit more, in a way that's going to be more appropriate and for as a fundamentals. But he says he's seeing the same kind of thing, right? There's an extension, and then it's kind of a fall. I would have liked to seen this particular person up there more higher up on the wall. It would have been a different kind of turn. The wall, by the way, is like much, much higher than this. This is kind of towards the bottom. I mean, this is still pretty technical, but it's not quite as steep.
Is there also a little bit of like over rotation at the finish on some of these turns, Chuck?
I wonder why.
They're aft.
They're also
Yeah.
not
I don't know if
controlling.
it's necessarily that they're aft. I mean, their ankles look closed. I think they look balanced. I think the real issue is that, what Kelby was talking about, how they are managing the pressure is completely different. And it's happening all at the end. So they have to turn their skis more sideways to arrest the fall. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I mean, technically, I think this is pretty good skiing,
Yeah.
noting where they're at, but it's not at the same level as Richie.
So you made a comment a second ago that maps to my current performance, which is not great, but it is what it is. But it was very interesting. So, I'm doing that Noodle Dog or whatever you talked about. Deb Armstrong has a Bobby Aguilera video that they walk through that in detail in about 90 seconds. I'll try to forward that link afterwards and just search for it. But my experience is exactly what you described. That is, I'm absorbing into the bump and extending down either into the adjacent bump or into the trough at the end and over rotating at the end. probably over application of the edge in order to arrest my speed and absorb into the next turn. Could you explain to me, what a better thought pattern should be?
Well, it goes back to that idea of the slow dog noodle,
Yes.
where we are actually more, the purpose of the slow dog noodle is to absorb up the bump, and I mean really pull your legs in, right?
Yes.
Almost to the
absolutely.
point where you're almost too far back.
Yep.
Slowly rotate in and then extend, not into the trough of the next bump, but into the side of the bump adjacent.
Yeah.
And
Gotcha. That's where you're picking up the pressure in advance of, against the next bump.
yeah. So,
Cool.
and I'm going to point out that that fifth fundamental talks about, everybody seems to latch onto the idea of the pressure piece. I think the pressure is the indicator. The more important piece for me on when we start talking about the fifth fundamental is the ski snow interaction. And skis off the snow or skis that are light are not interacting with the snow. And the point of this, and we even talked about this in the clinic today, was what fundamental is the most important when we're talking about the slow dog noodle. And it really is that interaction piece where I'm absorbing the bump and then I'm extending with my toes down into the next turn, but I'm looking for that interaction, that engagement as early as humanly possible. Extending to the outside ski, putting the ski a little bit on edge, allowing that ski to engage the snow so that I can get that friction piece earlier in the turn. What's happening here is they're putting the skis sideways and they're drifting down. That's their speed control. And what Katie is saying is, why is the ski so far sideways? Because when you put a pivot slip in and you slide down, that's what you're going to get. So
it's the line as much as the extension. You're not extending into the trough. You're extending in against the adjacent bump, which is a line change.
100%. I don't believe that you get into the zipper line. Richie does the zipper line, right? He's very, very skilled at that. But he's also doing these sing-songy turns where he's using the adjacent bump and the side of the bump to help him do that kind of rounder. That looks like fun, right? To me.
Yes.
This does not look like fun. This looks like hard work.
Yes.
I want to do the kind of rounder turn where I use the adjacent side of the bump to do the work for me, right? Not necessarily, launch myself down into the next trough, right? That's not fun in my book. I'm old, right? I don't want to, it's like Jim Shaw says, I want to take all the bang out of the bump now. I don't want to be bang, 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 bang. My legs don't bend like that anymore. So, but the point of that slow dog noodle is, can I get that interaction here and not wait to get all down here? Okay.
Right.
And this is not a bad skier, right? I actually know this person. They're a good skier, but outhouse makes us stand. It just does, right? So does anybody want to pick a fundamental out on this one that we could point to other than the ski-sio interaction piece? Because I think we beat that one a little bit. Somebody shout out a fundamental.
Rotary.
Rotation. So there's a couple of aspects of this rotational piece we could look at. I could give you like the big picture piece, and then I can really kind of like dive into like what's happening in the initiation and shaping and the finish. So we're going to go ahead and look at the big picture piece, and I hope you all agree. One of the things that I'm noticing about this skier is that even though there is a little bit of separation between the upper and lower body, they square up at the end of each turn. And what this is doing is it results in an upper body rotation and a blocking pole plant to start the rotation and not to stop the rotation. As a result, the skis spin quickly, and then then the skis stop spinning after they've kind of used up all of their shape or all of the energy. And then there's a skid at the long, kind of a skid, like a pivot slip at the end of the turn where the skis stop turning. Okay. Ideally, what I'd like to see is a much, much stabler upper body where they're not doing a lot of this or using the pole plant to start the rotation this way. I would like to see this stable upper body and allow the skis to turn uniformly underneath, which would allow the skis to interact with the snow earlier in the turn, which would allow them to rotate in a nice uniform manner. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody?
100%.
100%. That's kind of like a combination of an L2 and L3, an MA.
So Chuck, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Is I'm just trying to figure out with the retraction extension one, he's got his feet completely under him at the slow dog noodle, whatever, completely under him at the beginning, so that rotation is really smooth. In the one that you're critiquing, where is the actual beginning of his turn?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say the beginning of the turn is when they pole plant.
Okay.
Yeah, because the pole plant's what's starting the rotation. Where Richie, watch Richie here, right? When he does it, he's using it to kind of stop the rotation. So he doesn't rotate. And it's, I mean, there's various ways he's doing it. But what this person is doing, they're using the pole plant, that blocking pole plant, and you can see it because you can watch the hand go out, right? They're using it to start the rotation. And they're basically doing what, I mean, a lot of us have been taught earlier in our careers, which is plant the pole and turn around it, plant the pole and turn around it, right? But the new modern skis don't require that anymore, where we can put the skis with a little bit more on edge and allow them to drift, and then we can do a nice rotating arc.
So in the ideal, you have more of control through the edging of the inside ski just after the apex of the turn?
Ooh. So now we're going into a more of a, you're going into more of a, how does edging relate back to the rotational piece?
Yes.
Yeah, this is where that slow dog noodle kind of comes in. Because when we actually go into a slow dog noodle, we actually have to flatten our skis. We have to almost have equal pressure on both skis, which flattens the skis. And then as we rotate into the turn and we begin to extend, that allows you to add that edging piece in. And then you can kind of shape the edges into the turn by using the adjacent bump. And then you just kind of rinse and repeat to the other side again, which is that's what Richie's doing, right? Here's that sing-songy. He gets to right there, and then he gets that lower leg tipping, even though there isn't a whole lot of rope interaction right there. And then he shapes the turn from the top.
I see. So it's earlier shaping and a more consistent skis on the snow.
Yeah. Yeah, that slow dog noodle is that important piece to get the contact on the snow that allows you to shape. So all the other fundamentals can start working. It allows you to kind of extend, but extend one leg more than the other, allows you to rotate into the turn, and allows you to begin that edging piece. So you're, a little bit flat to the adjacent bump, but you're using the adjacent bump and a little bit of friction at the end to help rebound and then back in again. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of interactions that are happening all at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. Instead of basically the pivot and slide, pivot, slide, pivot, slide, pivot, slide. All right. Any other questions?
Would you say they're overflexed slightly at the knee joint? At the finish phase?
Um, let's pick a finish phase here. Actually, I don't think they're quite flexed. Oops. Sorry. I mean, that's kind of like the finish phase there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're kind of overflexed. I would like to see them a little bit more upright in the upper body. So that gives them more freedom to bring their knees up. You know what I mean? Richie's really skilled at this, but he allows himself to have room to bring the knees up. So he doesn't get trapped. He doesn't get sandwiched. You know, I talked about with one of our instructors today was because he was bent so far forward in the bumps trying to move down the hill that he ended up being sandwiched, right? Where the knees bump back up into you and all of a sudden, oh, there I go backwards. Right. He doesn't get himself in the extension move. Oh, hold on. I got some chats here. No. Oh, which video is this, Mike?
So Deb Armstrong has several videos with Bobby Aguilera. Apparently, he's a Canadian
Oh, yeah.
Olympian. This one is not the one where he does that dog noodle drill. It's exactly the same movement that we've been discussing, but they spend 90 seconds slow motion in it in real time, and he's talking about the movement pattern. This one is more of a demonstration of it, you know, sort of in action. There's a couple of really nice shots, you know, where he passes the camera, where you can really see the right there. Here's the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is really good because Bobby's big thing is pulling the skis back, right? He's really big on pulling the skis back. And I 100% agree because if you're going to allow your knees to move forward, so you're in the rear seat, as you slog dog noodle, you got to pull those skis back. You have to get your base support back underneath your body. And I think he spends a lot of time talking about that.
How does that, you know, give me your take on how, you know, so I'm doing a bunch of things to try to develop, you know, just that muscle reflex because I, you know, wasn't born with it and never practiced it. 45 years of bad habit skiing. What are your thought about, you know, how you get those skis back and under you? What is your thought?
Well, there's two ways to do it, right? So actually, the technical manual talks about three ways. One of them is you can move your upper body, right? So if I'm in this way here, I can move my upper body this way, okay? And then instead of moving your upper body, you pull your feet back.
That's one I know.
And that's much quicker, right? And then the last one is I can do a combination of them. If I'm here, I can move my body forward. At the same time, I pull my feet back.
Yeah, I've never had that. I love that pulling back, but I've had to do a bunch of things physically to try to give myself that strength and reflex. Maybe I had the strength, it's just not the reflex. But I mean, it's like a brand new movement pattern to me. It's really nice.
It's a movement pattern that most people don't do, right? Because they think I got to get my body forward, so they move the body forward. Whoops. So they moved. Anybody want to hear what mountain weather is? What they want to do instead is they want to try to move the body forward. And the problem with trying to move the body forward, it's very slow.
Right.
It's a long time to move a large mass forward, right? But if we can pull the feet back, because relatively the boots are heavy, the skis are heavy, but it's a really easy way for us to pull when we pull the skis back to get in that new position. How many of you have carve? How many of you use carve? So one of the new metrics they have in carve is what they call early forward movement, okay? Which is a misnomer. Because if you actually look through the videos, they don't talk about how the body moves forward. There's no way they can gauge that piece, right? Because carve is down at the boots. So they can't the metric can't tell if you're moving forward, but what it can tell is when you pull the skis back. And the metric measures how much the skis the boots deaccelerate at the beginning of the turn. And that's that idea of I'm moving at a constant rate, but I'm pulling the skis back in order to get them from underneath us. That's the new metric that you're using. They call it early forward pressure. So I would recommend for a lot of you is try this out in the bumps. It's really kind of critical to do like performance bumps. You have to pull the skis back. Kelby knows, right? If you're going to be doing performance bumps, you have to get those feet underneath you, because if you're going to be doing this absorption piece, kind of like Bobby's doing here, right? Where he's absorbing, he's not quite like, these aren't like mean bumps like Richie's doing, but he gets to that position where he's back here and he's using the absorption here, and then immediately watch the skis. They're going to move back underneath his butt, right? And that's what he does. He pulls that ski back. And it's like the reverse bicycle, right?
I have a question. So I've done this in clinics and tried to teach it. And I find that when I'm instructing students to pull their legs back underneath them at the crest of the bump, they tend to get fully extended in their knees.
Yes.
Fairly early. Instead
Yes.
of having it happen more gradually as they're going down the trough. So they've used all of their range of motion and they're fully flexed before they've come down.
So I'm using pulling the skis back as a kind of a euphemism for the movement that you're looking for. You're looking for more of a cue that you might use. The cue that I use today is not necessarily, I said, hey, the movement that I want is to pull the skis back at the initiation so that I can get the tips down so I can engage them. But the result is, how can I get the tails off the ground? And that's that kind of dolphin turn. Have you ever heard of a dolphin turn, Emma?
Yes, yeah.
So a dolphin turn, the whole idea is to go up and then pull the skis back and go down. But the idea is, can I get my tails high? And so that's kind of the cue. Instead of like pulling the skis back, can I get my tails up in the air? And immediately the whole body moves forward. Does that make sense?
Pulling them diagonal as opposed to just back. It's
Everything's yeah, this is that idea of I'm here, but I want my nose to go in front of my toes, right? I need it to move that way. I don't know, Emma, is this a downhill sport?
It's almost like it is.
This is Frankie Zampini speaking through me, right? Is this a side hill sport? Is this an uphill sport? No, it's a downhill sport. We move down the hill. And so I'll use that all the time with kids. Hey, we move that way. We're moving that way. We don't move that way. We move that way. We got to get that part, our body part got to go that way, and hopefully our skis will catch up to us.
Sure.
Does that help?
Yes, that does.
Any other questions? Because I kind of like to move on to our MA piece. All right, cool. Thank you for sharing, Michael. This is a good video. Why can't I get there? We go. Oh, here's another chat. Well, okay. So Garrett's asking, maybe he's overflexing the ankle joint.
Sorry, that was not Bobby Ag, the guy in the Deb Armstrong video. That was our subject movement analysis guy, and it was in
Oh,
response to the question
yeah. So
if he was underflexed or overflexed in the knee joint, and I think maybe what she was seeing is that he was actually quite flexed in the ankle joint, right? Especially at the end here,
right.
and might do him better to be more upright in his boots, and that's probably a sort of alignment and boot fitting issue. But they're not moving their knee joint nearly as much, or there's not nearly so much range in the knee joint, and some of that's been taken up by the ankle.
Yeah, so some of it's being taken in, and a lot of the flexing part is when they land, right? And they're trying to like shove the tips down so they can, and they're getting a lot of this coming back at them. So there's a lot of that kind of flexing that's happening there too. So that idea where Richie is like, he's the ideal, right? And he's not really ever over flexing the joint, the ankle joint, and the boot kind of restricts that anyway, This is just great skiing. Just great skiing. And this is good skiing too, right? I mean, it's Deb Armstrong. She doesn't suck. But she's not quite at the same level as Bobby is. But Bobby's a very, very specialized bump skier. But a lot of the things that we look at her skiing that she's doing, very stable upper body, very, very stable upper body, which allows for that lower body quickness. You know, and that was one of the things he's really kind of been, you know, when he was doing this, the upper body just hardly ever moves.
Would you say the quickness of the rotation required in order to navigate these bumps successfully or smoothly, is that coming from, like, you know, the ball of the foot, not the forward lean, but, you know, the ball of the foot? You know, I've just been playing with that recently, and the ski is so much faster to turn when I'm turning, you know, from like the ball of the foot or the front of the front binding or something like that.
So yeah, you sent me an email about this earlier today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So yes, so here's my foot, right? And we want to be at the initiation, we want to be right here. We want to feel the most pressure here at the beginning of the turn. And then we allow it to kind of move back to here at the other turn. And that's that idea of, I want my tips down. And if I have pressure at the front of the foot here, that allows me to put my tips down. But as we get through the turn, I want to be massaging the end of the ski. And at the end of the turn, I want to be more on the heel or more here, feel the pressure here at the end of the turn. Okay. So the distance is this far. That's as far.
Yep.
But we want to massage the ski. The issue that most people have is that once they get past this part, now you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're gone.
Yeah, because I don't have anything to kind of push against anymore. I'm like, now I'm at that, oh my God, the only thing I got left to push against is the tail of the ski, right? If I'm here, I still got some boot in which to kind of push and bend the ski. But as soon as I get past there, and it's like this far, it doesn't take very much.
No, right.
To get so that's the idea. We got to get those skis back underneath us as quickly as we can.
So the conclusion that I'm reaching, you know, I think we've answered the question that I posed through the conversation tonight, which is that retraction motion. You know, I'm just beginning to really discover the value of, you know, being over the ball of foot and how quickly, you know, I can rotate the ski now. Now I'm falling back into the, you know, a carve pattern where I'm sort of leaning on the center of my foot and I'm moving my body forward and aft, and that's incredibly slow relative to the needs, you know, of you know, skiing down the bumps. That retraction move, you know, using the hamstrings and the glutes is the thing that counters that, you know, allows you to recover the ski, you know, from the ball of the foot at the end of the turn. Would you say that makes sense?
100%. 100%. There's a reason why our skis are this long, right? And we're not using just the middle part of the ski. We're moving along the whole length of the ski.
Yeah, but I only have one weight management skill, and I'm just opening the door and looking at the next room, which is the, you know, being able to move the feet underneath the body, not the body on top of the feet.
Yeah. And you're going to find out that's a hell of a lot quicker.
Oh, I've solved half the problem. It is so much faster. It's like 3 times faster. I'm just playing with it right now. Now I need to play with the recovery, you know, the recovery position so that I can anchor the end of the turn.
Yeah, and that's kind of like Deb Armstrong's thing, right? Recently, she's been talking about how the best skiers in the world have the ability to recover the quickest, right? And how do they do that? Because they're on, you know, the best skiers in the world are the racers, and they're always on the edge. And when they're not, you know, sometimes they get over the edge, but they have the ability to get back to this position. And Frankie Zampini, you know, you probably don't know who he is. He's one of our examiners out here in the West, and one of our RMT trainers. And he's always saying, hey, whenever you get in trouble, pull those feet back underneath you and get in that flexed position. as quickly as humanly possible. And you don't try to move with your upper body into it. You have to do it with your lower body. Have to do it. All the action happens with the lower body. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Excited to go play tomorrow.
Go play with it. Where are you from?
I'm from DC, but I'm working in Park City.
Parks. Oh, wow. Okay. You fly over there up to Park City, huh?
No, I drive. I spend the entire season.
Oh, okay. Cool. Cool. All right. I'm going to go ahead. It's now 7 o'clock Mountain Time. So I'm going to go ahead and put you guys in 2 rooms. I only have 3 rooms tonight because we're now starting to lose people. So, and I'll come in and I will drop a video in every room. And then for the L3s, as I said before, 2 fundamentals. You get about 10 minutes. 2 fundamentals show a relationship between the two: ski performance, body performance. For the L2s, 1 fundamental, ski performance, body performance. I want 2 people to speak though. So I'm going to say, do 1 fundamental for one person, another fundamental for another person. And then if you want to tie a secondary fundamental in there, I 100%. If somebody could speak to those two and say, hey, there is a tie between those 2 fundamentals. This is what I'm seeing. That would be great too. All right. Give me a couple of minutes and I'll be visiting each room. All right. Go to your rooms. Oops, wrong one. Here we go. Thank you, Deb. Enough of you. And, nope. Here we go. 6 seconds. All right, cool. Copy. Go to, geez, these guys ever show back up again? Join. All right, who wants to speak first? I'm gonna pick a random room. All right, Gareth. So room 3. Go ahead and do you need the video? You're on mute, buddy.
I'm
There you
happy
go.
to make it up as I go along. I think I know what I
Hey,
saw
you know
from
what?
this.
This is the best way to kind of learn. So just, this is a
Yeah.
safe place. We're not going to ridicule you. Nobody's just putting points on the board. This is purely practice. This is what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Right?
So, it's management of the magnitude.
Okay.
And rotary was the other one, but I'll talk about the management of pressure, or the magnitude.
Okay, cool.
All right. And I think in the bottom third of his turn, he's got reasonably good ski to snow contact, and that is helping him slow down as he goes over the bump. Then when he gets over the crest of the bump, he stays back. So the skis kind of jet out in front of him a little bit. He loses that ski to snow contact, just to rotate quickly, and then comes around into that bottom third section again. We'd like to see more flexion and extension in the knee, particularly absorption, over the top of the bump. There is some of that happening, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 4 in terms of how much absorbing he's doing with his ankles and knees.
Okay.
What can I tell you? What can you ask me about that?
So I'm going to keep this simple. Are you going for your L3 or L2?
No, I did L3 in 97, but I'm doing stage 4 and
cool.
And so I'm just definitely, I'm not great at MA stuff. So
Yeah.
just trying to get back in with it.
No, I get it, man. When I came back, I was an L2 back in 1996, and when I came back, went through all the certifications again. When I finally I would never had I'd never had a chance if I hadn't joined this group, because frankly, this was all voodoo to me, right? I'm from the back in the days of error detection and correction.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was like, I got to be objective. What are you talking about? Or subjective or objective? I don't have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So this is a group that really saved me in the MA. And that, it allowed me actually to pass the MA in 3 different divisions. But, and I expect it will help me a ton when I go to the RMT MA. But so I got your skier up. So let me ask a couple questions. Where is the pressure the least?
This is a different skier, the guy that we're looking at right now with the brown pants. We had a guy with red jacket and black pants.
Red jacket and black pants. No, I got him.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sharing a video right now. Here, I'm going to share the video. This will make it easier.
Hang on, let me stop that.
All right. So here is this is your skier, is it not? This guy?
Yep.
That's him, right? All right, cool. So where is the pressure the least?
Right after the crest.
Okay. Where is the pressure the most?
In the bottom third of the turn, right before the crest.
What would you like to see in terms of pressure?
I'd like him to maintain ski snow contact throughout the turn.
Okay. And how is that going to alleviate the pressure at the bottom of the turn?
Well, it's going to give him some speed control in the top 2/3 of the turn.
Okay.
And so it's not going to all come down as a crunch at the bottom where his skis get jetted out in front of him.
All right, cool. So now I'm going to be more specific, because the thing about the magnitude of pressure, it's kind of like all the other fundamentals combined. It's like A plus B plus C plus D, and then we get the 5th fundamental. Okay, so if you were going to attack this guy, which fundamental would you think would have the most effect on his ability to regulate the magnitude of pressure? Seems like a complicated question, but this is going to probably come up.
It does, but I'm still, I want to, it could be fore-aft balancing, so just the ability to move his feet back
Okay.
at the beginning of the turn rather than, letting them jet out. So that could be fore-aft balancing being the sort of fundamental, the go-to on that.
Okay. Cool. And how is that going to affect his ability to regulate the magnitude?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about engaging higher in the arc. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping the skis on the snow. And so instead of them getting jetted out as he gets just over the bump, if he could pull his feet back, have that sort of perpendicular relationship with the center of mass and base of support, throughout the turn, particularly where it's lacking in the top 2/3 of the turn, I think that he'd have better speed control and he'd come in with less punch at the bottom of the turn.
Okay, cool. Cool. Do you have a recommended drill you'd like to use with that to help you kind of figure that out?
It depends on how old this guy is and how gamey he is, but we could just start it with falling leaf, do a standard static drill, just rocking back and forth on the skis, pulling the feet back and pushing them forward, then go to falling leaf and then traverse like crazy across the bumps. Maybe put a snowball on his head if he were younger, and try to get him to keep that while he's working his feet.
Yeah, cool. Or just hold a snowball in his hands or something like that. Yeah. No, I mean, I love these kind of like, when you start working with kids, I mean, this is fun. So cool. So let me repeat kind of what I heard you say.
Yes.
And we'll see if this kind of jives. So your idea is that there's an extension at the top of the turn, which lightens his load. Yes.
Actually, what I'm seeing is a lack of retraction at the top of the turn. So he's kind of static there and in not managing the fore-aft.
I kind of see like an extension.
Okay. I mean, certainly in
I mean,
the
he's
top couple.
he's moving up at the top of the turn.
Yeah.
And that's helping him to, I mean, this is a common pattern, help him light the skis so they can get an edge exchange and a, long leg, short leg exchange. Cool. And then at the middle of the turn, there's not much happening because he's kind of still airborne. And then all the landing, it's kind of a skidded stop, like a series of hockey stops at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
And if he was had the ability to get his skis down into the snow sooner, instead of allowing the tips to go up and manage that piece better, that'd allow him to get more engagement higher in the arc, which would allow him to smooth out the pressure piece in the turn.
Yeah. Even better than sort of the idea of him pulling his feet back and getting over his feet. I think allowing his body to move forward because he kind of arrests that forward movement a little bit right here, right there.
Yeah, he goes up instead of forward, right?
Sure.
Yeah. No, I get it. Cool. Anybody got any questions? That was a good first attempt.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else in that group? Michael or Rebecca, do you want to speak to another fundamental? Don't worry, it's safe.
I thought, and I actually really appreciate that. Thank you for this forum and the chemistry.
Yeah.
I thought that another fundamental was the edging he is using, from what I understand. I'm not a great mogul skier myself, but I'm committed to getting better. He seems to be using a lot of edging at that bottom third of the turn where he's trying to arrest his speed. So he's showing a lot of base of the ski, and my current understanding is you want to be showing less of the base of the ski, showing a flatter ski,
Mhm.
you know, and more rotary to change your direction and speed within the bumps. I don't know if that's a fair assessment or not, but it looked pretty edgy, you know, from my limited experience. I'd like to see less of that and more of the rotary.
Cool. And cool. Are you going for your level 2 or level 3?
I'm going for my level 2.
Okay, so level 2, you're going to need to talk about the top half, the top of the turn, the initiation, and then talk about the shaping phase and the finish. And you're going to need to talk about what the skis are doing and what the body's doing. So, but I'm going to, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and say, you know, I agree with what you're saying in a roundabout sort of way, but they're going to kind of pick you apart. What's happening at the initiation in terms of edging?
I don't have a valuable observation to offer there. It just, my initial impression was just looking at the bottom of the skis at the completion phase.
Yeah, no, I 100% get it. But at the initiation, like right, oh, not there, here, right, up, too far. Go back, dummy. There's that 4F piece. So what you're saying is this is the initiation, right?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
this kind of speaks to that idea that Gareth is talking about, like that 4F piece, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then he's showing a lot of base. And then
Yes.
he's extending. Which way is he extending?
He's going vertical.
He's going vertical. What's that doing to his edges?
He should be flattening them.
You would hope it's flattening, but are they flattening?
Let's see. Well, first of all, I see them coming off the snow
Yeah.
as he gets lighter.
Well, that's that idea of getting lighter, right? He's
Yeah,
extending up so he can get light, right?
That's right.
And so he can do the edge exchange. So honestly, the edges are not in contact with the snow, so it doesn't really matter, right? But he's using the up movement to help him flatten the skis. And then he starts to kind of tip, but it's all inclination. And now he's finally like starting to land, but he still hasn't got enough pressure on the ski to like make the edges do anything.
Yeah.
So he's got edge, but it's a real quick up move. Then he kind of turns the ski sideways to get him on edge. And then the shaping phase, which it's, you know, if you blink, it's like 2 frames, it's over. And now he's already into the finish phase. And now this is where the highest edge angles are at.
That's right. And if he was, that rotational movement looks to be like it's coming from, you know, the rear binding, not the front
Sure,
binding.
but you're talking about edging, so we're not going to worry about that, right?
Okay.
I mean, there's lots of things we could talk about this guy because there's a lot of things going on. He's an accomplished skier, but at the same time, there's a lot of things we need to kind of work on. But you know, we're only picking edging, right? So this piece right here, you know, how he flattens the skis, how quickly he gets to an edge. Because you talked about rotation. Yeah, he rotates to an edge, right? But he doesn't get any real edging until here. And now he's starting to engage because there's a squirt of snow, tells me the skis are now changing the direction to center of mass. And now it's here again. But the highest edge angles are where?
At the completion phase.
Yeah, where should they be?
At the shaping phase.
Yeah. And here it is again. Here's another shaping. And it's over, but he's still not even engaged, right? And he's already past the fall line. Then it finally engages, bam. And he gets a little squirt. And then there's an extension again, you know, because now he's got to go airborne in order to turn. So, all right. So how does the edging piece relate to the magnitude of pressure? Anybody want to take a guess? This is open for everybody. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
he's building up pressure with his edges at the finish of the turn, and then unable to release that pressure because he's built it up to such a high intensity. So he has to have that lightning moment. And that's where he's losing contact with the snow.
He's losing contact with the snow, right? And the idea is we want to go progressively, right? We're at flat, we're going to progressively edge to the highest edge angle should be in the shaping phase, and then we should be progressively on edge. What he's doing is there's a lot of the flattening comes late. So he's still on the old edges at the initiation, and he kind of rolls over, he goes up, and then kind of does this, and then ends up here before the contact happens, and the highest edge angle is here. So it's a whole lot of hockey stops all the time.
Is
Okay.
the root cause to that because his weight is so far back, he can't, and he's not recovering the center of mass over space of support, that he can't release the tails until, after the shaping phase?
Yeah, I would say the root cause of that is a big upper body twist, which makes him have to do an up. He has a couple of things. One of them, he's square here, right? He's very square, and he's trying to like rotate into a countered position. But how he starts the rotation is bam. Now he's square. He got into it. Now he's out of it. Now he's using a pole plant to block it. And he's got to go up and the twist. And then he lands with the high edge angles and he goes this way. And that speaks to that fundamental of pressure. There's the edging piece is where all that pressure is coming back at him. But it's not coming this way. It's coming at him all the time. Okay. So ideally what we want to do is we want to have this edging early or release the edges this way. So we move this way. That's the whole point of the slow dog noodle is we can release the edges into the turn and then extend this way. That allows us to get that shaping phase. So when we get to this spot right here, we're already starting to release instead of having all that energy come back at us. All the energy was here, not here. So we want the energy to be out here, the shaping part, and not back at us. So what happens when it comes all back at us, the only way we can go, because it's all the energy is coming up, we have to go up and over again. Okay, cool.
You're stuck.
You're stuck. He's stuck. He thinks he's getting in counter, but as soon as he does this and reaches with his pole plant, it's over. He's got no other choice but to do the twist. Cool. Room 2. You guys ready? This is your guy, isn't it? That's Emma, Gay, Paul, and Rita.
That's not the one we were looking at.
Oh,
You
that's
had
fine.
Donnie Neters on Over and Underwood. Same run, different human.
Yeah.
You know what? The problem is these things are so short. No, that's not it. Donnie Neters. Here we go. This one here.
Bingo. That
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I gotta put this one on repeat or I'm gonna lose it. Come on. There we go. Donnie Neters bumps. Donnie's a good skier. All right.
Okay.
Tell me about Donnie. What's your fundamentals going to be?
My choice was to regulate the magnitude of pressure through ski-snow interaction. I think his tips are coming up. I think he's getting thrown around because he's back, but they said don't pick fore and aft in that because you
Well,
need.
you just picked pressure magnitude, right?
Yes.
Or regulating the magnitude or managing pressure, right? And we do
Yeah.
that through the interaction. So tell me about
Right.
where is he the least amount of pressure? Where does he have the most?
He's back. I mean, he's back because his tips are up.
I get that, but now we're talking about overall pressure. Where does he have the least amount of pressure? Where does he have the most? Or you could switch to fore aft.
He said not to pick fore aft unless you can really state that.
I would say when we're talking about the bumps, so fore aft is such an important piece. I would go there.
Well, that was my first one when I said that, and then Paul said, "Don't do that," right? Because you
I
said
didn't say that.
no.
No,
Oh,
no.
somebody said it. I didn't mean
No,
to quote you, but
normally when you're looking at a level 2, you're looking at the 4 integrated tasks. You have the wedge Christie, the basic parallel. It's probably going to be the basic parallel, and the
Right.
medium radius performance turns. Those are the ones you're probably going to be looking at. And when you start talking about, here in the West in the Rockies, it's not verboten to talk about fore aft. You just be uber accurate because it's too easy. Right. So go ahead. Talk to me about fore aft. Real quick. Gotta get my L3s done too. What are you seeing? This is not an easy one because this is an RMT candidate.
you play the video. Wait,
Oh,
let me
I'm
go back
sorry.
in.
I thought yeah, I've got it up. Isn't it showing?
Uh-uh.
It is showing?
Seeing it, yeah.
I'm not. Okay.
Hmm.
That's okay. I can put it I can pull it out of the chat.
Anybody else want to speak to another fundamental with Donnie?
I
This one's not easy.
was looking at foot to foot a little bit. I was seeing some
Cool. Tell me about that.
divergence as we were coming into the finish of the turn with that outside ski. And that was indicating to me that the pressure was more on that inside ski and it had more engagement with the snow.
Cool. How do you know that?
Because the inside ski is, if that outside ski is diverging, it tells me that it's lighter. It's not digging in. I always get stuck in edging when I start talking about foot to foot. But that inside ski is traveling in that arc as opposed to just slipping.
Okay. And which phase of the turn are you seeing this divergence?
Primarily in the finish.
Okay. And where is he doing it more on one side than the other?
Right.
Or doesn't really matter.
We were seeing it more on the right turn.
More on the right turns? Cool. And do you agree that it's happening mostly in the finish phase? That's a leading question.
Maybe the shaping is more accurate.
It's kind of happening in the shaping phase. It's happening early, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly where I'd go with him. Because I see, especially on his right-hand turns, the finish of his right-hand turns, I see a little rotary push-off. So there's a little bit of at the end of the turn to help him start the rotation on the other side.
Yeah, we were looking at the pole plant and noticing that was not used as a blocking move.
His is more of a pole touch.
Yeah.
Donnie's pretty good about that, but the skis move in and out side this way. That almost always indicates to me that there's some kind of ski to ski pressure issue. Okay. Because what happens is, and especially in the bumps, is that the inside ski will get hung up and the outside ski will move down, and you'll see separation of the legs.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about. We saw one leg lower than the other and causing a diversion.
Yep.
How would you describe that in a way that stays in the foot to foot realm and doesn't move towards edging?
So foot and edging are very, very closely related, which is why I forgive you for that. But the mechanics are different. Okay. So edging is about tipping. Foot to foot is about this long leg, short leg. Okay. Long leg, short leg. If I shorten one leg and lengthen the other leg, and I go like this, then I'm getting tipping, right? That's why they're closely related, but the mechanics are different. So when we get to him, and there's a good spot, like right about, not this turn, right there, not this one, right there, okay? And he's making a good effort of this. Right now, the pressure is just before this, the pressure was relatively equal, and he's starting to lengthen the new outside ski. I know this because he's actually actively shortening also the right-hand side of his body, and he's actively starting to load up the outside ski and shorten the inside ski, okay? When he gets to this spot here, now he's more aligned over the inside ski and not the outside ski anymore. So he's lengthened the outside ski, but in order to catch up, he's actually lengthening the inside ski. And then when he gets to this spot here, poof, right? There's that divergence you were kind of talking about. And notice how the legs separated, right? Because he's landing on, their legs are this far apart. When he gets to this spot now, they're starting to go this far apart. And when he gets to this spot right here, they're like this far apart. And that speaks to me that when they start moving the legs apart like this, even though he's doing this, that tells me that there's an outside ski pressure. And now I can look at the body and say, yeah, it's aligned over the inside ski, right? And he's kind of reaching out with the outside ski to get some balance. And then he goes to a rotary push off. Bam, there's a rotary push off. And now it's kind of like he's better on this turn. But look, is there a long leg, short leg yet? And he's landing more on, there's more snow coming off the inside ski than the outside ski. And now the legs are separating. So when we're talking about the relationship between edging and ski to ski pressure, the mechanics are different. And this is actually a really good illustration right here of how he's using lower leg tipping to start the new turn on the other side. But when he's here, we just saw this with the previous skier, didn't we? It's not really shaping. This is a slide to a hockey stop. Bam. Right. And then he gets jammed. All the energy's coming back at him, but he's at least skilled enough he can release. And notice how the knees are tipping down the hill now, and his nose is leading his toes. And he's starting to at least try to engage the new outside ski. And he's lengthened it almost too much. Right. And now it's engaged. These side turns are better than the other side. Does this help, Emma?
Yes, yeah. I think this thing I struggle with is I can talk about the divergence and the convergence, but when I'm trying to make a justification from like a ski perspective, I often want to say I can see that the inside ski is weighted because the inside edge is engaging.
So I would say that's semi-true. But first of all, when we see the skis diverge or converge, that's usually an indicator, okay? And what you're looking for is which ski is landing first and where's it going up. And in his case, it's landing on the inside ski, even though it's a little bit shorter. And then, but we're talking about short leg, long leg. And even though he hasn't like properly lengthened the outside ski to put pressure on it early enough in the turn, right? Because this is a better one here, but he hasn't shortened the inside leg enough.
Right.
So when he gets to here, now he's finally engaged, but he's kind of in a twisted relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he gets to here, all of a sudden, do the legs look like they're different distance? Are this different lengths?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
and he gets that kind of trapped relationship there, right? And he does a nice job of pulling the legs back. There's that pulling the legs back, getting the tips down.
Chuck, can you just review where you saw that rotary push off really
Yeah.
quick?
Well, he does it quite often.
I just don't understand what you mean by that. I don't remember what that is.
So rotary push off is when I get into the finish of the turn and then I do a down stem to start the rotation to the other side. It's a different way of starting rotation. It's a lot like that blocking pole plant where I used it to jam it in the snow and then turned around it. A rotary push off is actually me coming into the turn and I'm finishing the turn and then I put a lot of pressure on the outside ski to bounce me from one side to the other.
Would that be a form of deflection?
It is a form of deflection, yes. And he does a rotary push off quite often here. There it is.
Isn't it-
You'll see it because that was a perfect one right there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it,
Yeah.
you used to call these people like heel pushers, but
Dirty
that-
heel pushers. Yeah, we still call them dirty heel pushers.
okay.
And
All right.
again, it's the same thing. It's a pressure relationship between one ski to the other, and you'll see the outside ski go this way
Yep.
to get a bounce, right?
I just hadn't heard it in the context of a rotary push off. That's why I was confused.
Actually, rotary push off is in the technical manual.
Good. Of course it is.
And
Yes.
of course it is. It's irritating. The technical manual has everything. And the only problem with it, it reads like Samsung TV instructions, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's just irritating. It always has. There's this rotary push off. See how the outside ski ran out here to get a little bit of bounce?
Yep.
So we could start the rotation on the other side.
Okay.
And it's there. This is an accurate turn here. This is what we'd like to see. The knees moving down the hill. There's a release, but he just doesn't extend or shorten the inside leg enough, and he gets trapped here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. We're done beating poor Donnie up. Let's move on to our last person. This is for the L3s. Who's left? All right. We got Lona, Katie, and Kelby. Katie, you're going to have to do it this time. Kelby did it last week. Wait, what?
So the skier.
This guy's even worse. Well, come on. Are you kidding me? This is Tom Golden.
So there was different discussion in the group, but I see that the skier is making fairly consistently round turns throughout, but it looks like to me, it just looks like there's a really kind of harsh absorption of the pressure kind of through his upper trunk.
Mhm.
That's so I don't know how to speak to that so much, but it looks a little bit like there's not so much of a stable upper body, and maybe that it's more like it's getting absorbed into the energy is getting absorbed almost in his torso. That's what I see.
Okay.
So I don't know how to explain it because I really don't even know how to ski this type of stuff yet. So
This is a blue black. This isn't even hard.
yeah, we don't get this terrain in the East, so
And you don't get this nice soft snow. I think this video is literally a week old. Because that's a
yeah.
black and Tommy hasn't been, he's actually an examiner and one of our RMT trainers and an unbelievably good skier. Unbelievably good skier. This
Yeah,
is
so I
not
wouldn't.
his best turns.
This is not what?
This is not his best turns.
Yeah, I don't know how to even begin to be honest with you. So
I think I gave someone that was similar like this to them last week, and so Kelby kind of murdered it. She was like, "This is pretty good skiing. What would we do if we did change the task? How would that change the skier?"
I'll speak up, Gumby, because
Yeah, go ahead.
going for my 3 soon.
Yeah.
So one discussion we had, we'd be curious to see the skier do some medium radius turns in the bumps, because right now he's got some very nice upper body, lower body separation through that blocking pole plant. He's moving from turn to turn. I would say with this skier, though, the low hanging fruit, personally for me, if I had to pick something out, it would be the fore aft, and then relating that to the rotary, that very quick rotation of the skis. And I think that it's just simply because he's skiing zipper line bumps straight down the fall line right now. So I'd be curious to see what happens if we made it from a performance bump into a medium radius bump line to see what happens with the ski performance and body performance.
Does that help, Katie?
I mean, it does in a way, but it doesn't speak. I guess, I mean, are you basically saying that it's really good skiing and that you would just like to see if it can be maintained in different terrain? Because, like,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do against a guy who's like, that it's basically he's an E3 examiner, right? I mean, he's a children's god. I mean, and he's a former NORAM racer, right? Who's put on 30 pounds and now he's kind of mad at the world and in the ski world, and now he teaches people how to fly airplanes, right? What do you do with a guy like that where it's really technically accurate, right? I agree. I think there's some little bit of flailing that's going on here. I don't know if this is rust with him. He seems to be getting a little bounced around. I've seen way more uber accurate skiing from him. But, his ability to get the skis down on the snow and make an arc is very, very, very good. How would that change if we asked him to do more performance medium raise turns? How would his performance change? Would it be still the same or would it be different?
What
That's
is,
basically what Kelby's asking.
Gumby, what is your low hanging fruit right now? Or
Right now,
fundamental?
I don't like the arm swings. The arm swings bother me. And he seems to be using a lot of blocking pole plants. And granted, this probably was after a 4 or 5 inch snow. So I'd like to see a little bit rounder turn instead of using a lot of these kind of blocking pole plants to start the rotation. Then he gets down here and it's like, there's the blocking pole. It's just a whole bunch in a row. Then he kind of makes up for it by, basically shooting over a couple of bumps. But
So I agree with you, Gumby, on that. But I also want to go back to what Katie was talking about. There's a lot of that flexion extension, or a lot of the impact going through the waist, I think is how she phrased it.
yeah,
So for me, it's a pressure magnitude overall, but it still goes to fore and aft. I think
yeah,
blocking pole plant does affect it as well.
yeah.
But when you see him making his turns, if he uses more of the shaping of the turn versus more of the straight zipper from one to the next, he doesn't have that quick retraction movement. He's able to absorb much better. So I just didn't want to completely go away from what Katie was talking about, because that was the route that I would go, is fore and aft rotation first.
Yeah, I agree. He does change his performance in the middle of the turn when he suddenly goes more of a blue line instead of a black line.
Yeah.
Oh, Kansas City won.
I know, right? Just sitting here.
We're going to
Having
the
the
Super
background.
Bowl. Just got a text from my wife, so it must be a good thing. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with you, Benji. I mean, it's like, why do we, I mean, what would performance be if he was like more round, like right there, right there? And suddenly he doesn't have to do all that.
Yeah, I think I remember before CJ and our other gal went and watched the game. we were talking about how there's a lot of that moving out of the waist, but if he were to allow more moving out of the knees and ankles, it wouldn't be such an abrupt impact. That bang, if you will.
Yeah.
But then the first question CJ said was, when did they get a video of you skiing? And I went, that can't be me. But then I started watching it again. I was like, I think it might be me. Yeah, because I had that same thing, or that's what I learned it from watching Tom.
Yeah. Now, in Tom's defense, I will say that he's put on a good 30, 40 pounds in the last 2 years.
Yep.
He's a big boy now.
He's
Way
got
bigger.
both his two daughters too.
He's put on more weight than his two daughters combined.
Yeah.
Right. That's what happens when you go from a skiing job to a sedentary job.
Yeah.
So let that be a lesson to you. Never, ever stop skiing.
Or biking. He's a big
So-
biker too.
So this is a tough one. I made it intentionally tough. But yeah, that kind of slow dog noodle idea again probably would be helpful.
Oh, I did find a video of slow dog noodles.
Oh, good Lord, share it, man.
Oh, I already closed it. Let me see if I can find it again.
Yes, Gareth, he's right. Donnie was about on his right leg a ton. That might have been because of his back.
How's that beer taste, bud? Even better since the Chiefs won.
Anybody else got any?
I don't
anybody
really care about
ask
either
for
teams.
Donnie
It's
or
must
ask for
sooner again.
Tom that you would ask him to do if he was open to doing a task?
I feel like he does something which I tend to do a fair amount, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but like kind of that butt sticking back out, and that's kind of a fore aft. And I don't know if it's just because of the way he's absorbing the bumps, but like
It's
trying to get the waist and the hips forward a little bit more.
And that's the problem. And when we're in the bumps, we have to be able to absorb. And because of the nature of the boot that we're in, the only way we can absorb is to allow our legs to move in front of us. Otherwise, we're going to get sandwiched. We're going to collapse, right? So we have to allow the skis to move forward so that we can get some absorption this way. But the idea is, as soon as we absorb, we want to get it back underneath us as quickly as possible. And Tom's really good at that. I mean, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see if we can get a good spot right here. Because he moves along the length of the ski. So there's the absorption piece. That actually looks more like a sandwich. I would like to see more bend in the knee and less in the waist. That's a sandwich. That's where he gets tossed. But as soon as he gets to the other side of the bump, notice how the ski suddenly goes down and he's pulling it back underneath him again. So he gets tossed here, but he pulls it down and then he recovers. And now he's balanced again.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets ready for the next one and he kind of sticks his legs out. There's the piece that I would like to kind of get with him on, is that idea of allowing the legs to move a little bit more freely in front of him and being a little bit more upright in the upper body so he can absorb that a little better.
Is there a
'Cause
task? What would a task be to try to fix that sandwich?
There wouldn't be a task. This would be more of a tactic. So the tactic would be a little bit more upright here and a little bit more allow the knees to be more of a piston.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That will keep him from getting to this.
Yep.
Which is what he's accused me of doing a million times. Chuck, be more upright so you're not getting sandwiched. He's getting sandwiched.
Yep.
Cool. Any other questions?
What did he mean by being on his right leg 60% of the time?
Donnie, let's go back to Donnie here.
Just
I
more.
wouldn't say it was like 60% of the time. I would say that he does have a more significant amount of weight on his outside or on his right leg than his left leg. And knowing Donnie and his injury pattern, and it has affected his movement patterns.
I don't, that 60%, I don't understand what that means. Like he's doing more turns in one direction, or he's just got more weight on the outside skis?
He's got more weight on the right leg than he normally does on his left leg.
Hmm.
Right. So he's kind of tends to ride on the inside leg a little bit more on his right hand turns because he just doesn't really shorten enough, but he kind of rides on it. It's very subjective. I think 60% is probably like, but he's definitely on his right leg a lot more than he should be. He's not allowing it to move out very far.
Got it.
You know, he's trying to keep his right leg underneath him. And knowing Donnie with his back injuries, that's probably why he's doing that.
That's a tough catch. I mean, that's very subtle.
It's very, very subtle. Yeah. That's our requirement though. Right? Not everything is easy to pick up. All right. It's been 2 hours. I love you, but not that much. All right.
Thank you.
Anybody got anything else they want to share before we get off?
I wish the Bills had won.
I know, right?
Sorry.
Not that I don't like Kansas City, but they deserve a chance.
They had their chance and they lost. Good Lord, who's bombing?
Another rematch with the Eagles, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the last thing we want is the Eagles, right? No, Eagles can't win.
Wait a minute.
All right. Well, we can
Thanks.
debate this all day long, but